Welcome to LGBT Radio Nation here on UrbanNationRadio.com. I am your host, Kai Kaiology Mann, and you are watching LGBT Radio Nation. I have a special guest for you guys tonight. I'm so excited. You know what? We've been kind of trying to have our sisters and brothers on the show and kind of go back and forth and close up some gaps within the Urban Nation Radio family. So you'll notice that we'll be on each other's show just to kind of show support to one another.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
So anyway, I have here with me JL from Elevated Living. JL, Jodi Luster. My girl JL. I like that. I gotta ask you a question though. You know, even though, you know, we kind of hang out, you know, outside of here or whatever, I had to kind of do a little bit of research on you.
Okay.
And I was watching some YouTube videos. You was kind of sexy on the videos, Jodi.
I was young. That's when I was.
I was like, wow.
I was young. No. Fur getting old, baby. I'm coordinating.
Jodi and I pretty much, I don't know if I really want to say that we started at the same time, because you probably were well before me. But when UrbanNationRadio.com started, we was the ground up.
Yeah.
And man.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. Now. Look at us now. Wow. We've come so far.
We've come so far. We've come so far, you know, and we're just looking ahead. And I was thinking about that on the way here. I was like, dang, it's been a minute.
It's been a minute.
It has
and
really been a minute.
It is, but it hasn't. You know, we went on air last couple days in March, you know, and that's this year, 2014. And it seems like we've been doing this for years, right? Like at least a couple years.
Right.
But it hasn't even, our 1 year anniversary hasn't even come yet.
Right.
So,
I'm like,
ain't that ashamed? As fast as it went, it seemed like it's been longer.
Right.
But that's because, you know, when you do things behind the scenes and on the ground floor, it takes a lot of work and a lot of energy. And when you look back, you're like, dang, we did a lot of stuff, didn't we?
Right.
You know, as a radio station, individually trying to build our brands on the station, we've done a lot of work, you know, things, shared events. We've all had some shared events and moments and things like that. So it's been a while. It's been a wild ride. I don't regret it.
At all.
At all.
Bumps and bruises and all.
All of it. All the scratching and
everything.
Clawing.
Right.
Beans don't burn in the kitchen.
Right.
All of that.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been a good ride.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
It's been exciting for me. I feel like a kid. Like, what we gonna do next? Like, you know, seriously. That's how I feel. Like, what are we gonna do next? What's happening?
Yeah, you know, and I know you always have something exciting for your show, and it has gone through some changes and some, you know, some ups and downs, and I'm looking, you know, I think we're all looking to take what we do here to the next level. Just like, you know, the visionary behind the station is always looking to what, you know, what else can we do? Where else can we go? How else can we, you know, put ourselves in the community, pull the community in. So I'm looking forward to 2015.
I know.
And it's almost here. We got like, what, 3.5 weeks?
Yep.
Nothing. No time. It'll be here.
Just like yesterday.
It was 2014. Back in 19. We can say that.
I know. I was telling Monica the other week when she was here, I said, I can't wait for the stories that we're going to tell and laugh about.
I know.
Remember this?
Back in 19. And in a minute, kids going to be like, 19? Oh my God, you're old.
Right.
I was born in the 1900s, baby.
Before we go any further, let me tell you guys about Jodi. And then you can, after I'm done, you kind of add whatever.
Hey, go for what you know, Kaiology.
No, I just found this, you know, I think on your website, a little bio about Jodi. So let me tell you guys who Jodi is. Jodi is the architect of Elevated Living. She was born and developed in the inner city of Detroit, a challenging, wonderful, and controversial urban mecca. Her foundations are in serving children, adults, and families who have been abused, neglected, plagued by substance abuse, mental health issues, and a host of other needs. As a therapist and counselor for over 20 years, she's learned that she has the heart of a servant and the spirit of a warrior. She is venturing to share what she's learned as a native Detroiter and a champion for the underserved to assist all who will allow her to help elevate the way you live. She's called a self-actualization coach to those whose lives are a little less war-torn, but are still in need of attracting and manifesting a better life by answering a higher purpose. Wow.
You like that?
I love that.
She's a writer, so it's important that she likes that.
Very. I love it. I love it. The first thing I think that got me is when you said that you were an architect of elevated living. Tell us. Do tell us what that means.
Well, architect is a builder, right? And first of all, we're all architects of our lives, and there are certain sects and certain religions and certain fraternities that call God the grand architect, right? So, we are all many creators. And so elevated living is a concept that I think was divinely inspired, and I haven't taken it nearly to where it should be or I believe it's going to be. But probably on the precipice of a lot of other people going into life coaching. I was already a therapist, and I did my research into coaching, and I know that a lot of times in the coaching industry there isn't a lot of, I'm not going to say credibility because I know those people are called and they're credible too, but I like the idea of transitioning from having classical training as a clinical therapist to becoming a life coach, because I can transition people back and forth between the everyday goals that they have for doing better with their occupations, with their dreams, and the things that keep us from getting there. And the things that keep us from getting there is the deep stuff, I was molested as a child, or I've been gang raped, or my parents had severe substance abuse issues, and I'm afraid it's going to happen to me if I get successful. That is the stuff that I think sometimes when coaches aren't prepared, that they can't handle, when that is what is the block from the rah-rah coaching that we're supposed to do when you get people who are entrepreneurs or actors or entertainers, and they're trying to go ahead in their lives. So I like the marriage of that. And that's what elevated living, the goal of it is to be able to deal with the tough stuff and the not so tough stuff. But it's that the tough stuff makes tough because we got all this emotional baggage from our trauma and our families. And people don't realize what people go through behind closed doors. And as hard as it was doing some of the work I did, it just gave me a different perspective about people. When I look at a person, I'm like, I don't know what they've been through.
Right.
Because I've been with hundreds of people who've been through hell and back, and you'd never know it by looking at them, And
what's that saying? Thank God you don't. I don't look like what I've been through.
Exactly. And that is what I wanted to be able to do, bridge that gap between the deep stuff that haunts us and keeps us from moving forward. Because so many people have come out of those kind of backgrounds and become professionals and radio personalities and business owners, and you not everybody's comfortable with telling that kind of story.
Right.
But in the confines of the confidentiality of being with somebody who is supposed to help you get to the next level, then we can work on both of those. So that's what elevated living is about. It's really looking at the whole person, mental, spiritual, emotional, physical, and working on whatever the issue is.
That's important. All of those. And you're right. You're right. You'd have to be an architect in order to to be able to do all of those, because everybody can't do all of them.
No, not everybody can do that. No, I can't. I'm not a food guru, or I'm not a a physical therapist or, but there are some things being in the medical field and being, because I'm a holistic nut freak, that I can steer people in that direction, and have done that, worked with a lot of friends and family who were having issues, and just that push, that gentle push, like, go here, try this, do this to see if this will control that disease or this immunosuppression that you're dealing with. And it works a lot. It works 90 times out of 100. So, God has to do the rest, but I just think it's important to try. And I try to use what he gave me to kind of fill in the holes for people.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you, so tell us, just tell us, she's called a self-actualization coach. Tell us what a self-actualization coach is, what they do.
There's Maslow's hierarchy. And most people have heard of the hierarchy of needs, even if they don't know it's Maslow's theory, which is a psychological theory based on human behavior. And that there's a pyramid that we climb up as we develop. Some people climb slower than others, but we all climbing it. Some people may never get up past the first tier, and the first tier is human basic needs, water, shelter, clothing, food. And then you go up the hierarchy. And as you develop, you get from basic needs, which is like meeting a lot of your physical needs, safety, again, the shelter, food and clothing, to your spiritual needs. So spirit, the development of the spirit is at the top of the hierarchy, and the satisfaction of your primal physical needs is at the bottom. And so the top of the pyramid is self-actualization, which is basically becoming your authentic self. So, and this is that age. I think we're in that age where we, with Oprah and all of these other people, and Ayanna Van Zandt, and T.D. Jakes, and Deepak Chopra, and all of these gurus of self-actualization, because that's really what they do as well. That's where we are in our development for many of us. That part of the development is at a boom right now. So.
Okay. Well, we're going to get back to that. We're going to take a quick break. This is LGBT Radio Nation on urbannationradio.com. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. And we are back. This is LGBT Radio Nation on urbannationradio.com. This is Kai Kaiology Mann, and I have Jodi Luster in the building with me.
That's me.
And we talking. Before the break, you were breaking down the tiers for us of self-actualization. Can you just give us a quick little...
some more about that?
Yeah.
So, okay. It's Maslow's hierarchy. As you go up, you start, you get to your basic needs. And then you start getting more sophisticated. You start meeting some more of your physical needs by how you develop in your environment. Then you start meeting some of your emotional needs. We move up to tiers and we start looking for love, children, occupation. Those are the things. And eventually you get to a point where you've got your basic needs met. You've got your I guess I would say, your desires are met. You might be doing the type of work that you want to do, or you might be doing work that pays you what you want to get paid. You may have a family, you may have a significant other, you may have a car and a home that you prefer that's not just basic shelter, but it's something of stature. And then as you move up the hierarchy, the top level, which you develop later on in the years, Maslow, is where you start to really get in tune with other. Not just humans, but other, God, nature, whatever you conceive to be a higher power, and where your life fits into the grand scheme of the rest of the world. And that is called self-actualization. Why am I here? What am I doing? Am I making a difference? What are my morals and values, and how does that resonate with what I do? How does that speak to who I am, and who am I really, and what really matters, and what is really purposeful in my life? And so those are some of the things that self-actualization is. Because one of the things that I like about my idea about elevated living is that we want people to get to that point. What's my purpose? Why am I here? And am I doing what my purpose is? And again, like I was saying before the break, the other part of self-actualization is authentic self. Who am I really? You know, and there's all kind of ways to that. You know, there's all kind of paths to that. And one of the ways we can do it is hit our head in everyday life. But do we pay attention to what we're tripping on or what is actually good? You know, and both of those things will point to who you are.
Right.
And so sometimes we need somebody to say, look at that. You know, oh, look at that.
Right.
So we can pay attention to it and say, okay, now how does that speak to you? And sometimes it's little things like color. You may have all your life since a little kid be like, my favorite color is yellow. But everything you wear is black. You ain't got nary a piece of yellow in your closet. But, you know. Just because that little boy in first grade gave you a yellow crayon, you've just been clinging to it. Right? But no, your favorite color is black. Right? You know, so it can be something as minute as that. It can be patterns. We definitely need to look at the things that we are actually addicted to. And I don't mean addicted in the sense of like how we are addicted to substances, but more so of our habits. You know, we need to look at our habitual behavior. Sometimes our habits will speak to us about what is authentic, and sometimes our habits will be telling us that we are in the habit of doing something that is very destructive. And so you got to look at both sides of the coin and as a sign, as a pointer, as an arrow to who you really are and where you in line with where you want to be. And then that's the self-actualization tier of the pyramid.
Okay. Tell us why it's so important for people to want to elevate their lives.
Because we all should be growing. You know, I attribute not growing to something that's dead. If you had, I always say this, you had a plant in your house that did not sprout nary a leaf, never grew an inch, was just some raggedy little spindle in the house, wouldn't you throw it out? You'd be like, this mug is dead. Right. Because it's not producing, it's not growing. If you had a tree in your backyard that was a fruit tree, and say it's a pear tree, and it never produced a pear, the leaves never came back in the spring, you'd be like, this mug is dead, I'm going to chop it down. Right. So elevating our lives is the equivalent of growing. You know, we've got to grow. And in order to grow, you have to get to another level. If when you plant an acorn or whatever the type of an apple seed, it starts off inside the ground. You can't even see it. When it's done, it's this massive tree. It means it's constantly elevated itself. It keeps going to new heights, new heights, new heights. And if it's a real, live, living, breathing thing, then it's going to keep growing. It never stops growing. And even if it's one of those plants that has a predetermined height, it stops growing up and it starts growing out. It never ceases to produce itself and to grow. So that's what we need to do with our lives, is constantly elevate ourselves.
And what happens when we don't? Like, besides the fact that we'll die.
You would die, literally. You'll just keel over. Or somebody's going to take you out.
I love it. But how, what could happen if we don't continuously to grow? Like our minds, our bodies, what will happen?
We atrophy, like any muscle that's not used. We atrophy, so it gets weaker. That's what it means. So if you don't die, you're going to get weak. And which means that if you're weak, somebody else who's stronger, who may not have your best interest at heart, can take over your life. And I think that's where we find ourselves. People who've given up on their dreams at jobs they don't love anymore. They just go on, it's time to make the donuts. They get up, they go to work, they hate being there, and somebody else is using you for their dream. Right? I mean, you going to work, you making money for some entrepreneur who's got a yacht, who's going on trips and taking his family places. He got enough money for his great grandkids to go to college.
Right.
And you are miserable.
Right.
You know, and that's just one example. Everybody's not an entrepreneur. Some people, it's okay, you can work, but you might have another dream. Maybe you really just want to travel more, and you got stuck in a place where you got lots of children, lots of debt. You're not happy in your relationship, and it's hard for you to do the things that you need to do to organize your life so you can go do those travel types of things that you want to do. It could be something that simple. Not everybody's life has to be complex. It could be just a dream of, I've always wanted to learn the ballroom dance because I love dancing, and I haven't done it since I was a little girl, and I've been taught that it's frivolous and I shouldn't do that, and I need to focus on work and family. It could be anything. So when we fail to answer the different pulls on our lives, we get weak. We get weak and we get sad and we get miserable. And that's not life. That's not living. The days go by fast and you don't remember anything, and the next thing you know, your life is over and you're unhappy.
We are going to take a quick break. We are talking with Jodi Luster. This is LGBT Radio Nation on urbannationradio.com. And we are back. This is LGBT Radio Nation on urbannationradio.com. I'm your host, Kai Kaiology Mann, and I am sitting here and I am talking with Elevated Living's own Jodi Luster. Hi, Jodi.
Hi. Oh my gosh.
We are just talking about self-actualization. We're talking about some things about life coaches and being an architect. No.
Yep, I wish I was.
And I am enjoying my conversation with you. I am so glad that I got to talk with you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me on this show.
You are quite welcome. You are quite welcome. I want you to tell us, have you always been this open to what it is that you are?
Yes.
Always?
Yes.
Wow.
I hate to say that, but it's, the truth. Which is stranger than fiction. Mm-hmm. I got called to be a servant at 2 years old.
Wow.
I was an evil child. I
was the devil.
I was evil. I gave my mama 72 stitches coming up.
Good gracious.
Yeah, I tore her apart.
72 stitches? Is there room for all that?
I know. God, I know. That's what we're... Oh, my God. Yeah, I ripped her asunder. I was an angry child. And I came out, and they was like, she keeps scratching herself. So they put me in one of the little baby straight jackets. The kind that keep your hands in. Yeah, I was always saying, I didn't want to come here. I ain't want to come. I knew it was going to be some work to do, and I think I just was trying to skip out on the journey. And they had told my mom she would never have children. My mom is, very prudent woman. And, my dad had some issues, so she stopped messing with him. And 3 months later, she found out she was pregnant.
Wow.
And so, she was like, first of all, I didn't know I could get pregnant. They told me I couldn't. And when I found out, there was really nothing I could do about it. So, you see how things are kind of in divine order.
Yes.
So I guess I was supposed to come here, even though I think I protested a little bit. And then I was I was just a little strange. I was a strange child. And my mom said she was on her knees many a night, crying, asking the Lord why she was being punished.
I don't want to be beat that much.
And my aunt's nickname for me was the bad seed. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Lord came and got me. It was about April of 1975. Maybe 1976, because I was turning 3 that year. I remember, and I was not being nice to the little girl that I was playing with, and she had some cognitive difficulties. Back then they called it retarded. Mm-hmm. She had some cognitive difficulties, and we were playing, and I was hurting her. I was comforting her, but I was really bullying her. I was really being mean to her, which was kind of my MO, and be mean to people, in sneaky little ways. And she left after I thoroughly terrorized her. And I remember laying there on the floor, you know, after playing a game of Ring Around the Rosies by myself, after the little girl. Which I enjoyed playing by myself, you know. I was a little terror, but I enjoyed my time by myself. I remember this strange voice in my head, or wherever it was, and it says, okay, do you want to go with him or do you want to come with me? And I knew exactly what that voice was talking about. And I was like, I don't even like him. And you're like, who is him? Well, I'm assuming if there's dark and there's light, and I was kind of evil, the him would be not the light. And the voice was like, okay, from now on, you belong to me. And I remember, you know, wanting to start reading my Bible. I prayed all the time, and my mommy would teach me how to pray. And I remember there was a time when I was praying, and this may be a year or two after this event, and I said, Mom, you should get down here on your knees and pray with me. You know, and it started becoming my agenda to learn the Word. And I would go in my room and I would read the Word, and I would ask God, you know, what does this mean? You know, I could read it too because I was special, but I really didn't understand the Bible that well. So I would ask Him, you know, what is this? And I would understand. He would answer me in some kind of way. And I always knew that I would work with children. And I knew I would go into some kind of psychological field. At first I wanted to be a doctor, so I wanted to be a psychiatrist. Mm-hmm. Well, at first I wanted to be a pediatrician because I thought that was the way. And then as I grew and understood that my calling was to work with people who had issues emotionally or mentally, and that's the direction I went into. So when I went to college, I started off pre-med because I wanted to be a psychiatrist. Mm-hmm. But God had other plans, and I became a social worker.
Wow. So when you think back to when you were younger and the little girl that was special, and how you ended up now dealing with people with all different types of issues, right? Mental issues. Wow, that's deep to me. How God just.
Oh, it was. I mean, it was a fight, though. It was a struggle. The Lord was pulling on me because, again, I was a special child. I guess you could say I was gifted in the sense that I could solve problems and puzzles, and I had a decent IQ. But even, and at the same time, at that age, which sounds strange, I developed a drinking problem. So I was an alcoholic from the time I was 7 to the time I was 11 years old.
How did that happen?
I had a propensity for the drink, girl.
Yeah.
I enjoyed alcohol. And because I was intelligent, I knew how to hide it from my mother. You know,
and where would you get it from?
Well, my house was the family house. We have a huge family. And our family likes to drink. And they would come over and they'd bring their things and they drink. And I was a little kid and I would sneak around and I would drink after people. And I would sneak into people's glasses and grab the beer cans and end up, passed out. Yeah. But, when you're little, they just think she's exhausted.
Baby's drunk.
Baby drunk. So, I understand about substance abuse on a different level. I mean, I stopped, I think, early enough that I didn't carry that genetic predisposition into my adulthood. And I can drink responsibly. I'll have a glass and then won't none for another 2 weeks, And but I did. It was a struggle as a little girl with my calling and what other forces were pulling me. Which most people are like, are you serious? I mean, truth is stranger than fiction.
It is, because I can tell you, I wrote something about that pulling and it being from different places, but it's almost as if it was the same. I know exactly what you're talking about. I remember being somewhere, I guess around 7 or 8, and being in Tampa, Florida with my family. I would go there every summer, and we'd go to church every Sunday. And just one Sunday, we were all just sitting there, and all of a sudden, something just came into me. I just got up and just went up front. Just got up and went up front. They're like, where's she going?
Yeah.
She going. So I know.
Yeah. I know. You think that stuff is strange.
Tell us how important it is for people to like listen to their intuition.
And everybody's intuition is different. Some of us have to get to a point of listening because you may not hear it. Some of us have a strong intuition. It really pulls us. It tugs us. It keeps us so distracted that we can't focus on day-to-day operations because it's really speaking to us loudly in whatever way. That feeling, that still small voice, a big booming voice, or signs and symbols and life getting in the way, pushing you in a certain direction. But, I believe like a lot of the professors of self-development and higher calling of self and purposeful coaches out there believe that your intuition really is the spiritual knowing in you, trying to push you or pull you in the direction you should go.
Right.
And just like your intuition works the other way too. Sometimes it'll be like, don't go to that party. It'll be like, leave this man alone, or leave this woman alone, or you do not want this job. And sometimes we don't listen. So I think your intuition is your GPS, and you should heed its call.
Right.
Or its, stop sign. If it
Right.
tells you no, be like, I can't do that. I can't do it.
Can you tell us some ways to, I guess, like sharpen or hone that skill of listening to our intuition?
Meditation.
Meditation.
That's really, for me, it was like like I'm talking to you. That's how it was when I was little. It would be, I would sit there and actually talk and could hear God respond to me. And Mama would be like, who are you in there talking to? And she should have got tipped off because I said, my special friend. But working single mothers, they were like, oh, okay, she got a special friend. I'm like, it wouldn't have been special if it was a real I mean, I just was with Jesus. Jesus in here talking to me, Mama. I think she would have. She'd have been like, what?
You're talking about Jesus.
What you know about Jesus? But, as I got older, the voice stopped being so loud and so frequent. And I find now that my inspiration and my epiphanies and my understanding comes better if I meditate and I breathe and I get still and I get quiet and I do nothing. I mean, that's hard to do in the busy lives that we have, but and some people, I've had entrepreneurs on my show that talk about they take showers and they get that water, or just some people say, I got that 20 minutes in the morning with my coffee and my, I get my aura. Some people say I just wake up and I get quiet or whatever. However it is that you kind of reset yourself and get still. And some people can meditate and get into a meditative state or a prayerful state and hear everything they need to hear, or that sense of knowing comes over you. And for me, it is as I go throughout my day, and I always am asking questions in my head of the universe. And when I get the answers, that's when I know that intuition or that universal ancient wisdom is coming to me. And that it works differently for everybody. You got to know how it works for you, and you got to get still enough to know how that works. What kind?
So you're saying that for you, you don't have any issues.
Oh, I got all kind of issues.
Yeah, all kind of issues.
I'm just open. I'm always looking for God's guidance. Always. I think I get on His nerves, really. Because it's like every other moment of that, and I know, look, I be like, shut up. I got other people to take care of. But I have so many issues that I always want divine guidance. I always, because whenever I took it growing up, it led me to where I was supposed to be.
Right.
So I always want it.
How hard tell us something that has been really hard for you to actually say, okay, whatever you say, I'm going to go with that particular thing.
Oh man, there's so many things. You know, it's little things sometimes. I fought being a social worker because I wanted to be a doctor, and that was an ego issue. And I fought that. But after you flunk a class at U of M, you get humble, and you be like, I guess I better
Right, Lord.
I guess I better go ahead. Can't get too many more F's, they gonna put me out. And I know I ain't stupid. So, yeah, you know, so that was hard. But I did it, and I don't regret it. And I see, now one of the things I do notice, this is kind of a sidebar, there's a shortage of psychiatrists, especially for children. There's a shortage, and I think that's a disservice to our kids. But, you know, it is what it is. He called me to be a social worker, that's what I am. It was hard. There have been relationships that I really wanted in the past. I really wanted to be with a certain person, and he was like, no, they're not right, no. That was difficult. I don't understand. Why you even let him come in my life? If I can't have him.
It's a lesson. You weren't supposed to do all that. You got beside yourself. You were doing too much.
I'm like, okay. But I don't understand why. You know. That was hard, and just getting into the habit of doing some of the day-to-day things. Like, I know it's important to pray and meditate, but there are days when I don't meditate. I pray every day, but prayer is different than meditation. You know, prayer is more for us, I think, than it is for God, because usually we pleading and asking Him for something. Right. You know, we pulling. You know, give me Daddy, can I have some? You know, so, you know, but there are days when I don't meditate, and I can feel the difference, you know, in my day, in my universe. I'm more frustrated. You know, when I ask questions, I don't get the answer as quickly, if at all. So that's hard, making sure that's my habit. And again, it's the other thing is I've not always had to meditate because it was always so easy. It always came so easily. So now that I'm getting older, I have to work harder to get the same level of intuition and enlightenment. And I'm not in the habit, and so I got to get there. I used to work out all the time. Now I'll be like, man, when am I supposed to work out? You know, when am I supposed to do my yoga? It's not gonna happen. We'll do the child's pose while I'm down here praying, and that's it.
2 for 1.
That's a 2 for. So that's what I find myself cheating on instruction, you know. So I got a lot of issues, you know. I know, man, in a perfect world, I know what I'm supposed to do, you know. My issue has never really been knowing what I'm supposed to do. My issue has always been doing it.
Gotcha.
You know, and I listen to all the gurus, and they say, when you know better, you do better.
Wrong.
That's not true.
At all. Yeah.
So anybody out there is like, I don't know why. Because you know better doesn't mean you can do better.
Right.
That's the practice of life, is figuring out how do I integrate this wonderful new behavior into my already too full life. What do I throw away? What do I eliminate when everything is important?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that you can take yourself to that next level, right? You need that. I need that meditation to take me to the next level. I need to exercise so I don't, you know, lose my ability to walk and run at 80. I can still do that and still keep moving forward in whatever my call is at that time. So it's important. Everything is important. So it's just about learning how to let go and what to let go of.
You mentioned earlier about being holistic. I had the opportunity to hang out with Jodi at her house and some friends and family for what was it, Sweeties Day?
Yeah.
It was a Sweeties Day brunch. And it was the coolest thing. I had no idea. Brunch was nothing like I even perceived it to be in my head, but it was wonderful.
I'm glad you liked it.
It was wonderful.
Good.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
I haven't been out in a while, so just, you know, hanging out with you and seeing how you know, maneuver with your family and your friends, and it was cool. It was cool. The food was good too.
That's good. I'm glad you guys liked it. I think the cake could have been better. I think I could have used a different bread. But that was my first sandwich cake. Okay, I did my research and made the sandwich cake. But you know,
tell us why. Well, when we come back, you'll tell us why. Anyway, this is LGBT Radio Nation on UrbanNationRadio.com. I am talking with Jodi Luster, and we're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.